The walls at Union Gospel Mission on Signal Hills Drive at the base of Signal Mountain are being repainted, and the old lay-down tile floor in the kitchen and in that dining room down under the sanctuary is being redone as well. New flooring has been put in. The painting is about 60% done, and the tiles are ceramic tiles, and in some rundown lower quarters there with where John Rector and the men under his charge live and work and meet will certainly look a lot nicer. Well, we here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, we need a new floor to stand on as well. And the floor is not politics. The floor is not one, you could say, sketched out by the Republican candidates for president yesterday. And the reason we need to have a floor to stand on is because they are not offering one. They are offering simply more of the same, more national solutions, more national arguments, and more statutes, more laws, and more programs that either have to be created or, as Marco Rubio says, protected. He is very keen on protecting Social Security. There's a story of what he said to a small meeting before the debate last night, and he says, we have 9 people on that stage, and not one is a socialist. Kind of noteworthy to say because it's a very bold claim. All of those on that stage last night, conservatives, all caring about the marketplace, there are none that are socialists. None believe that there should be the government ownership of industry or various swaths of life. No, that we don't have any people like that. But it really isn't at all true. All of them believe in the nation state. All of them believe in a national consensus. Somehow that there are problems that can have a national consensus. Let's say immigration. There has to be a national solution, a single solution for the 50 countries that make up the federal union. We've got to have one, and Washington is in charge of all the states and their outward-facing borders, whether they face the ocean or Canada or Mexico. We've got to have an answer. And no doubt we need to probably raise to some measure the federal tyranny over those states and the borders, and to have new systems of regulating people, new mechanisms for criminalizing people before they've done anything wrong. People who are entirely innocent are put into a criminal category. That would be those we could call the illegal immigrants. And you say, well, what is your problem, David Tulis? Why are you so contrarian on the point of immigrants? Don't you love the United States? Don't you care for our country? Aren't you one who espouses Americanism? And in a way, yes. Last night, I took my wife Jeanette to a Constitution dinner at a Veterans Lodge in Dayton, and it was an event put on by June Griffin, and altogether there were about 50 people at a very good dinner, and there were speakers, including Casey Davis, who is a county court clerk in Kentucky, no kin to Kim Davis in Rowan County, who received all the attention and who was imprisoned, who was jailed for acting according to the law, in a most remarkable overturning of the American legal system and overturning, in fact, of justice. He spoke, and another minister and a minister spoke as well. And June Griffin made comments. I think she's held in some very high regard by the people there. There were some homeschool families. I sat opposite Miss Edmonds, homeschool girl. She's one of 6 children, and I had met her mother earlier at home education expos that we hold every year here in Chattanooga, specifically in East Ridge. And so that was where I was yesterday evening, missing the debate. And it was pointed out by one of those at the microphone that those answers there by the Republicans are really all of the same kind. They're all the same kind. No one is wanting to overturn the status quo and have reform. Reform is impossible. It's impossible at every point. And the reason that that's true is because of capitalism. Okay. And here's how that works. Capitalism will shape itself to the leading paradigm of the day. And if it's state capitalism, well, capitalists are there to take part in that, right? If it's fascism, as under Benito Mussolini or the National Socialists in Germany, well, the gun manufacturers and Krupp and all those people, they're happy to oblige and to shape themselves according to national policy. And that's what industry does. That's what capitalism does. It shapes itself because often it has no moral center. It follows those in charge, and it tries to please those who have charge of the economy. It actually believes, and they actually believe, that you can have someone in charge of the economy. They actually believe that that's possible. And we believe that is possible too. That's why we have the national government. That's why we have innumerable federal agencies, whether for transportation or storage or communication. There's a federal agency that has seized control of it, just as the FAA yesterday pretends to seize control by demanding registration of all drones above a pound or so. All drones that are flying effectively have to be registered with the FAA. And the coverage yesterday that I heard did not mention the penalties, the prison, the criminal penalties even involved for those who don't comply. And so what's going to have to happen is that there are going to be new systems where people who are non-compliant have their drones, and these instruments are not possibly connected any longer with them personally. So they can be nearby as the drone is seized by the good people, and they not be apprehended. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but I'm sure smart people such as those at Lamppost Group and others around the country might come up with such a solution. We have new floors going in at Union Gospel Mission, and John Rector is very glad about that. Now, we need to have a new floor to stand on here in Chattanooga, and I would propose that the floor be the argument that we make here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and that argument is local economy and the free market. And I admit local economy is a whimsical and wonderfully weak theory. It's very, very weak, and it doesn't envision a system. It doesn't envision a group of people coming together as a committee to make an important change. Okay, it's not. It doesn't view that at all. What it views, local economy views, is you, my listener, acting independently without constraint upon your actions, which are all lawful, and your person, which is good. Okay, I would say that it's good. Presuppositionally, I would say that it's good, and that is in fact the Christian theory of the marketplace. It views not class conflict as the Marxists do, not the skimming economy that is favored by many debt and crony capitalists, but it favors an open market, and it presumes good, and it presumes that because people are generally good, we don't have to have continually increasing exercises of force in the marketplace. A force, of course, led by the chief executive, and that's why all these Republicans, the Democrats as well, they want there to be more force. And the question for the voter is pretty simple, and that is, which person do you want to control and increase the amount of force in the American culture, in American society, in the life of people, meddling in the life of the people here, right here, where you hear us live every day. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Saudi Daisy, Tennessee. We are WSDT and are from Saudi Daisy. Thanking you for giving us a couple of minutes of your time. So our theory is local economy and the free market. And my name is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving me just a couple of minutes of your time. I'm very grateful that you are willing to condescend to do that. But let me just urge you, if you have things that you're doing for your employer or your master or your boss or your client, that you do those things. And if you can spare maybe 7% of your cranial capacity for me, well, that's probably fair. Okay, I might need a little bit less than that. And you can devote the rest to making that man prosper. We have a special we want to mention from Woodhouse Day Spa. There it is doing a 12 days of Christmas giveaway, And to find out about that, you go to its Facebook page and participate in it. And the promotions are for every $100 gift card or higher, you receive 10. You receive $15 bonus gift card. For every $200 gift card, you get a $25 bonus gift card. And for every $300 gift card, you receive a free, as a gift, a luxurious throw. A throw is a kind of a blanket, but it's not. It's I have one. It's a virginal white blanket, kind of a not really a full blanket, but it's called a throw, and your wife would know exactly what that is. And that's at Woodhouse Day Spa in Chattanooga. And to find out more about this space place for which you can or to which you can send your sweetheart, go to chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. That's chattanooga.woodhousespas.com, and the number is 443-447-8443. 4478. The good people in Washington, the Republicans, are saying this at that event yesterday. What they said is the following: far is better than near, big is better than small, and complex is better than simple. They believe that. Probably Ron Paul doesn't believe that, and maybe Marco Rubio slightly doesn't believe that, but generally they do. A corporate is better than personal, and abstract is better, they say. By implication, they say that abstract is better than physical. I'm not so sure about that. They all believe in massive wealth transfers, massive taxation, massive government interventions, banking, and finance, and foreign wars. Where have you heard anybody talk about peace? Where's the peace candidate? Where's the one who talks about restoring America by making America take back the proper size? Find somehow human scale, which it doesn't have anymore. It has an inhuman scale, and you cannot be possibly represented by Chuck Fleischman. He has way too many people to represent, and he cannot represent you. There are 600,000 people in this district. How can it be that you are to be represented? There's a story by Andy Santoro, kind of bringing us up to date, kind of bringing back to mind the whole body camera question for the Chattanooga Police Department, TV 12, our CBS affiliate. We are, by the way, the CBS radio news station here in Chattanooga, and also that Fox. We're the Colin Cowherd station. Okay, we're the serious man station with Colin Cowherd and Sean Hannity, and me, your host, David Tulis. We have Russell and his nifty show, Binary, usually at 11 o'clock. And at 1, we have Clutch with Keon Rose, and in the evening at nighttime we've got Coast to Coast. We've got American Now with Megan McCain, and Ground Zero late in the evening. But our affiliate at Channel 12, and Andy Santoro, who's, by the way, that's a woman if you don't watch television. Andy's a blonde lady, brings us up to date with an interview with Deputy Chief David Roddy. He says, regarding these cameras, he says you would have multiple captures of multiple angles of that incident, so that it would be an incredible benefit to the investigators, and to be able to release that to our community so they could see what the camera captured. Okay. Well, okay. We understand that. We understand that we would have video data. Well, of course, what happens then is you have a gigantic data cache. It becomes, he says, a digital evidence program. It's no longer just buying cameras. And it would save the agency would have to save millions of hours of so-called footage, digital footage, and then there would be questions about privacy. If the officer is invading your home, what about that? Is his camera on or off? When he abuses you and your wife over the couch, is the camera running, or is it where's the limit? And the problem, there are many problems. I think it would be an awful job to have as a police officer to be constantly having to be up to spec with the camera running. You really become a public person. But then you have this whole surveillance question. Suddenly everybody is under surveillance. So if I have an interview with an officer and he asks me to get in my car, and then he treats me gruffly, and I stand my ground. I say, well, officers, can you state your probable cause? Am I free to leave? And then he abuses me. And then I get a little hot, but that's not the right thing to do. I shouldn't raise my voice. I shouldn't take the command tone as he's taking with me. I should just very calmly say, well, sir, you stopped me for a reason. And do you suspect something of me? Why am I here? Am I free to leave? And he's, I'm not at my best. I'm wearing a t-shirt. Okay. I don't have my bow tie on. I'm in my t-shirt, and my old jeans, and I've got kind of a worn frayed jacket as well. And I don't look my best. My hair's not clean, and he's got that bright light from his car on me, and he's taping the whole thing. I don't look my very best, right? Or maybe I'm not shaven, or maybe your wife, my listener's wife, is caught by the cop at a roadblock that maybe doesn't quite meet the Hicks requirements for publication, and has declined into that roadblock has declined into a fishing expedition, violating the standing order from 2007 about how roadblocks are to be conducted by state troopers. Well, and she's not in good shape either, and so that becomes somehow that gets leaked to the press, and it's all on TV 12. It's all on Nooganomics.com. And it doesn't look good. So we have these other problems, but indeed. Andy Santora says that there's unanimous support for body cams, which she says are just on the horizon. So she's bringing us up to date. David Roddy says, it is an objective capture of what happened between our officers and members of this community. And anything that gives that objective capture, we are completely in favor of. Well, the one bad thing is that he's ending the sentence with a preposition. But the other bad thing that may be slightly more important is that everything is captured. We have an objective capture. Why do we have that? Why do we need police? Why don't we need police at all? We are thinking again about the whole question of abolition. We need to find black ministers and to see that there needs to be something more than just having a citizens council. Okay, a citizens council overseeing police departments and whatnot. Those are impotent. They don't address the real problem. The real problem is that the marketplace is passing by technology. The very technology in Andy Santora's story is bypassing this whole need for a professional, militarized executive, kind of a standing army, if you will, overseen by Mayor Andy Burke and Mayor Burke's office. That is to say, the executive branch of the city. We need to find a way to get black ministers involved in this, and calling for reform, calling for a return to the unarmed protector of the peace, who by moral suasion and his good character and his courage brings hostage situations to an end. Right? He's not surrounding someone bearing a gun, ganging up on that guy, thinking that there's a war going on and that he has to defend himself. No, that's not what happens. Just the one guy comes up and says, "Okay, let's talk. Let's just put the gun down and talk about your problems, because you evidently need to see your pastor, or you evidently need to see a counselor." Gibson County, Tennessee, is between Nashville and Memphis. It's about 2/5 of the way to Nashville, and it has a sheriff. His name is Paul Thomas, and I'm looking at a copy of his letter to the citizens, and it's remarkable what he points out. Not only do citizens have smartphones, and are soon enough are going to have apps for crime that are kind of Waze-oriented, WAZE, Waze-oriented apps for finding out where crimes are taking place, and good people can rush to the scene, right? Good people, armed or unarmed. Well, they, according to Paul Thomas, the Gibson County Sheriff, they should be armed, right? The police are disarmed and the citizens are armed. There's something wonderfully sane about that. There's something wonderfully upside down in that idea. And the reason I think you might find it attractive, you, my listener, who eats out at Ari's restaurant, the reason you find that attractive is that the good man is in charge, and the police officer is just the administrator. He's just the one who helps get things back to the court. Originally, we didn't have police departments. They're a new innovation starting in about 1830s and 40s. And the sheriff, his job was not law enforcement. His job was maintaining the court and protecting the judges and the process. The civil process was what he had charge of. And law enforcement, we need to look for an end of law enforcement. We need to look for an end for a new day beyond the United States, even beyond our corporate capacity as the state of Tennessee, right, which is a corporation. Beyond those times, beyond those circumstances, where the common man enforced the law, and there was not the endless laws statutes and whatnot enforced against free people. I'm dealing with a man in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, who's a victim of just this kind of process, and I'm trying to find a way of helping him. Right now, we're trying to get his trial continued so he can get better counsel. His state-appointed counsel has abandoned him. But the sheriff says, under the Tennessee Constitution, I'm chief law enforcement officer of this county. I take seriously my duties. He goes on to say, in light of recent events that have occurred in Tennessee, other states and around the world, I want to encourage the citizens who are authorized to carry a firearm to please consider doing so for your personal safety and the safety of those around you. Notice that's local economy. In other words, he's saying, I want to have a local economy where safety is generalized, where safety is democratized, not given to the elites and their cruisers, but to common people with their smartphones and their guns under their jackets. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After areas of morning fog, more good-looking weather for your Wednesday with some sunshine, highs mid and upper 60s. Tonight, more rain will push back in from the south and west pretty quickly, lows into the lower 50s. After a morning shower, drying out for Thursday, highs upper 50s with breezy and colder weather returning Friday. Rock City's Enchanted Garden of Lights is now open nightly through the holiday season from 6 to 9 p.m. Joy, wonder, and magical wait for the whole family. For more, see rockcity.com. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
CBS Radio News brought to you by Kubota. You can count on Kubota to help you get the toughest jobs done with ease, comfort, and efficiency. Whether you need a compact tractor, zero-turn mower, or diesel utility vehicle, let Kubota help you get your work done. Find your local Kubota dealer at TennesseeKubotaDealers.com.
At Kubota, there's only one thing we're selling. Great tractors.
Lay your burdens down at the woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming lives.
Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5Preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. GOP presidential hopefuls facing off on a number of issues last night, including national security at the CNN debate.
After calling Senator Ted Cruz a little bit of a maniac, Donald Trump now concludes
he has a wonderful temperament.
Cruz faced his sharpest attacks during the CNN debate on Salem Radio from fellow first-term Senator Marco Rubio.
Is Senator Cruz wrong?
He is, and so are those that voted for it.
Marco knows what he's saying isn't true.
Cruz and Rubio sparring much of the evening over NSA surveillance, immigration reform, and U.S. military intervention.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern reports of terror arrests in Austria. A newspaper there is saying 2 men who entered Europe with members of the group that carried out the deadly Paris attacks are being questioned by French and Austrian authorities, and that they've been posing as refugees. Fox News, we report. You decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Five months ago today, Muhammad Abdulaziz, a devout Muslim with some personal problems and a family riven by disputes, and in fact, for a time there was a divorce proceeding in progress among members of that family between his mother and his dad. Muhammad Abdulaziz took his courage up. He, not having any security of his salvation from the Islamic deity, decided he would take matters into his own hands, which is what you have to do when, unlike in Christianity, you don't have security. You don't have security of salvation when salvation is somewhat dependent upon either the state or upon you. And so since it is a religion of works, insofar as Mohammedanism is a religion and not merely a political ideology, insofar as it is a religion of works, then you are the one who decides how far, how secure your salvation is. So you have a promise in the Quran and in the commentaries: if you die for Allah in jihad, the great expansion of Mohammedanism, then you are sort of guaranteed a place in paradise. And you have the virgins. You have the promise of a continual fornication in heaven, a kind of heavenly bliss that is an eternal orgasm that never ends. Right, in the conception of heaven in Christianity, and I think in Islam, there's an eternal heaven, eternal present outside of time. And so that's what you have as you evidently have some connection with your deity. Now, in Christianity, we have a personal connection with God. And so we have that relation. Christians have that relationship here on the earth, and then in death, in the next life, they pass out of this life and are translated, as the Catechism says, and they are eternally present in the presence of God personally. It is a personal relationship that is finally come to full fruition, full openness, the veil having been pulled away, and that soul, his body lost behind him now in another dimension, as it were, before God in an eternal presence. There is no way of measuring time in heaven. There's no millions of years. You can't say that. That's like trying to measure the flow of the Tennessee River with a yardstick. It's the wrong tool to measure, the wrong way of accounting what's passing by you on the side of the river there. And so Muhammad took up an AK-47 style rifle, I believe it was. May have had a handgun and some banana clips and chock full with 30 caliber rounds, and attacked 2 facilities. This was 5 months ago today, and killed 5 in his second barrage that was down along the river, along Emnicola Highway, in a day full of terror and excitement. It was a remarkable day. Commander Timothy White fired at him with his personal weapon, that he had there in his office, and hit him twice in the stomach. And I'm not sure if that was the fatal rounds that brought down this faithful Muslim. But Muhammad Abdulaziz, doing what Muslims do around the world when they are, as they say, radicalized, when they are brought face to face with the insecurity of their situation as far as salvation goes, and they have to do works. This is a works religion, and the work is to kill the infidel. The infidel would be people like you, people like me, perhaps maybe you are indifferent in matters of religion, but you too are needing to be shown. There needs to be a demonstration made to you that you cannot be indifferent to Allah. You have to bow to Him and comply with all the edicts and requirements for your life, as outlined by the imams and the holy text, of which there are 3. The Quran is summarized in its points on jihad by Boyd Patterson in his new book. I do urge you to get a copy of that. Just look up Boyd Patterson and maybe jihad, and you'll find a reference to it. You can download the book for free. I did mine through the Chattanooga.com website. You can buy a copy of it for about $6 or $7 from Amazon. The proceeds, any profit, there's $1 profit that comes from that price, and it goes to pay for to contribute to the families of the victims of Muhammad Abdulaziz, whose reasons are kept in a kind of mysterium by the federal authorities, who don't want to say, being very strict about their definitions of what terrorism is. They don't want to say that it was a terrorist act, which I agree it was not a terrorist act, or that it was somehow Islamic extremism or something. For some reason, they're being very coy about what happened. But you, having read enough and heard enough about this event, know pretty much probably what is to know. There's a story, I think, in the front page of the paper yesterday that looks at today's marker. The prophet make war on the unbelievers and the hypocrites and deal rigorously with them. Hell shall be their home, it says in the Quran at 9:73. Believers, make war on the infidels who dwell around you. Seek out your enemies relentlessly. And at 216, it says, fighting is obligatory for you, much as you dislike it. But you may hate a thing, although it is good for you. And we are called friends of Satan. And the book, people of the book, that would be people like me, those who are of Jewish conviction, also people of the book, they are to be destroyed. And from all of history, there have been many, many millions of people killed. They've been destroyed by Muslim Islamic desire for hegemony, Muslim desire to have control of all, to have its mark totally on a culture. And it preys and feeds upon all cultures constantly. And now we've had great warfare against us. But you're 7 times more likely to be killed by a cop than a Muhammad Abdulaziz. So Muhammad Abdulaziz may be the one you think about. That may be the reason you, my listener, are prudent and courageous and cautious. You've gone to Carter Shooting Supply. You've signed up for the shooting, the firearms training licensing class at Carter Shooting Supply, and you buy your ammunition, your weapons there, and you bought a handgun and you have it on your hip under your jacket. That you did all that, or you are doing all that because of Muhammad Abdulaziz. But you're much more likely to be killed by an officer. There are so many stories about this. I want you to just think about the idea of reform, and then ask yourself, is reform enough when it comes to the modern concept of policing? Policing being a military occupation by military people, right? That's why you are called a civilian, right? Because they are not civilians; they are military. And Anti-Media out of antimedia.org out of San Antonio tells a story about Bexar County sheriffs responding to a disturbance call, and they found a man named Gilbert Flores pacing in a front yard, and his hands are in the air, according to a video of this man, 41 years old, and he's shot dead at close range by Greg Vasquez and Robert Sanchez, two deputies. And on December the 9th, the grand jury no-billed the deputies. In other words, they saw the video and they determined that there was not a crime that had been committed. So this is what happens. You are killed. Your friend, your business companion, your someone working for you in your office is killed by a cop, and the no bill prospect is great. You will find, as in Chicago, 16 rounds into a young man shot down, not doing anything harmful, not aggressively walking toward an officer, and no indictment, no crime was committed, according to the story I read, I think maybe Saturday in the Wall Street Journal. Flores' family filed a civil rights lawsuit in federal court, and it claims that there was no immediate danger to bodily injury of the officers or others. And of course, you've all seen the video of the shirtless man along the parked car there on the city street, holding his hands up, making some kind of weird gyrations, and he's shot in the heart by a man with an AR-15 standing 30 feet away, as if somehow this man without a shirt on is going to do any kind of real damage or set off a bomb. You know, you can always speculate if you're an officer what could be, but the presupposition tends to not be any more in favor of the local man and the local economy, because the man who's dead is made in God's image, and the police department and the peace interest that we have in culture and society, that is to say that you have, is always in preserving that image, that being made in God's image, whether it's an unborn baby girl or an unborn baby boy, even if it's black, even if that person's black, right? Especially if that person's black, you want to preserve that person's life. And so whether the unborn child or the citizen, every person is valuable in God's eyes. And I know there's been a great devaluation of human beings, partly because of the abortion, the baby killing and abortion industry, which has desensitized us and made our hearts very hard. We don't think of the killing of a man with horror. We don't shrink with horror in reading these stories. And so I think because we don't, our economy here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County is less rich. There's less feeling. There's less empathy. There's less care. There's much less charity than there needs to be. And of course, part of that's not just the fact that we debase humankind with murder and allow people to be slaughtered. There are many other reasons as well that teach children, that teach your young son and your young daughter that people are there's only so much that you can expect of them. In other words, people are low. They're not viewed. People are not viewed in their highest form. And I think Christianity is the system of thought, the system of grace that makes one person esteem other people the greatest, the most possible. Well, there's a story out of the Institute for Justice website that I wanted to mention to you. It cites a study by the Heritage Foundation of yet one more thing that diminishes the circulation of money and value in Hamilton County and Chattanooga, and that is occupational licensing. I talked last week with an attorney in Nashville from the Beacon Center, and he is looking for, and I'm looking for prospective litigants to overturn some of the occupational licensing rules here in Tennessee. This is an active program, and we are trying to find statutes that need to be overturned because they are fundamentally irrational. Many occupational licensing rules are irrational. The Heritage Foundation says that these licenses are a government policy mistake. I'd say it's probably more of a moral mistake, but anyway, at the very least, a government policy mistake that costs consumers around the United States $127 billion a year. These rules limit occupations, right? They limit people who can enter into an innocent and harmless occupation. The average license costs the occupational license costs the average American household $1,033 per year, making it one of the most promising areas for reducing prices. Okay, you can reduce prices in the economy if you cut back on these licenses. Once limited to a relatively few workers, Nick Sabilla says of the Institute for Justice, licensing has exploded in recent years. Today, about 1 in 4 American workers needs a license from the government before they can legally work, a five-fold increase from the 1950s. Many of these licensing laws really are nonsensical. The Institute is challenging one that involves 2 hair braiders, Achieria Bell and Aiken Ajit, who live in Iowa. They have an African-style hair braiding business, but under the state's laws, Akieria and Aiken must first complete 2,100 hours of cosmetology training. Cosmetology training, which can cost upwards of $22,000. Now, let me ask you, is that a barrier to entry? And do we want more barriers to entry or fewer? Well, we want fewer. And you can find out more about the Institute for Justice, which is working in the same direction as the Beacon Center here in Chattanooga. Here in Chattanooga, we've got the Beacon Center doing much the same thing. I want to mention to you Armando's. Armando's run by a great guy full of gusto, Anthony Johnston, here in Hickson. He has terrific burgers, terrific fries, great volumes of food, terrific milkshakes as well. And you can find Armando's in Hickson just at the Chester Frost Park entrance. It's right near where that new light is going up at Thrasher. You'll see that little place, Armando's. Anthony knows he needs to have a big new sign out there, but he's in the restaurant business. He doesn't have big piles of money. He doesn't have $6,000 for a new sign. So he's offering you the best deal, offering a great restaurant experience. Again, very common restaurant, right? But an uncommon man and an uncommon lunch. And you need to patronize local, right? Favor the local over the national. Go out of your way to say, this is a little restaurant, and I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this one because here there's local character. In the national outfit, no, you don't have local character at all. And if you need cooling and heating advice or cooling and heating repair or inspection, make sure you contact the men who drive the big orange vans. These are Superior Air Systems. Superior Air Systems in the big orange vans, 886-6602. Call that number. Call Superior. You've neglected having the seasonal changeover done, right? It's been so warm. You're thinking, well, I don't have to worry too much about my heating unit. But whenever the season changes, you need to have that inspection. Very reasonably priced at Superior Air Systems. We are members of Trade Bank of Chattanooga, by the way, at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. That's Trade Bank of Chattanooga, the smarter way to barter and to improve your cash flow. Ask Jürgen Mutz, the German with the Southern twang, about how he can help you in your business. It's 877-2202, 877-2202. We think that we should love our neighbors and buy local. And Colin Cowherd, I have the opinion Colin Cowherd probably agrees with us on local economy. If he could get into local economy in his diverse and vast subject trove and in the sports dial here at our radio station, I'm sure he would find favor with you and local economy. Now, there's a story out about Sullivan County. There's a vote that occurred Monday in Blountville. Sullivan County Commission has voted to support the historical institution and legal contract. You know what that's about? That's right, solemnizing the relationship of one man and one woman. And it goes on to say, shall be the only recognized marital contract in the state of Tennessee. In other words, poofter unions, lug butt get-togethers, pretending to be marriage, these are just shams. These are shams, and this has abrogated its duty to God and its duty to man through its constitutional obligations to enforce this distinction and insist upon it, no matter what, right? If you're right, you go forward no matter what. You don't couch and you don't cower and couch your position as, well, I really don't have a choice here because this is the Supreme Court after all that says two men can marry, two hairy ones can marry. Well, no, we need to do what Sullivan County has done. And how far will this go? Will other counties take the lead? I don't know. I think probably not, because there's not the Christian testosterone present in a widespread fashion to bring about votes similar to this one elsewhere. The story quotes, I'm reading from the local newspaper. And in fact, there's a reference to this story at Nooganomics.com. If you go to my website, which is Nooganomics.com, you can read about this resolution. And it says, there's a quote from a Presbyterian pastor, Larry Ball, and he says, he's quoting from Romans 13:4, you have all been elected as civil magistrates, and therefore, in the technical sense of the word, are servants of God. And that is an important point. If you hold office, if you hold political office, in some form represent the sword, right? The county commission represents the sword, believe it or not, as opposed to the ministry of grace. Then you have a duty to God to use that sword correctly. He says you have the privilege of serving God, and by representing the people, you owe allegiance to the Constitution of the state of Tennessee and the United States Constitution. The law of the land is who interprets the law and the Constitution. In my opinion, he says, you today face is what you do when the interpretation of the Constitution on the federal level directly conflicts with the interpretation of the Constitution on the state level. Your allegiance must be to the Word of God. Well, I would say, he's a minister and he says it that way. I would say your allegiance should be to the Word of God implicitly, but explicitly to the state constitution. Another pastor, Patrick Hines, says that the cry of bigotry often shuts down discussion. He says, every law without exception that is enforced by the government is itself a condemnation of certain behaviors. While there is a popular slogan today, you cannot legislate morality, the fact is there is nothing other than morality that is legislated. In other words, every bill, every law, every opinion by a court is a legislation of morality in some form, or an interpretation of how morality should be understood. Laws exist because certain behaviors, this minister, Patrick Hines, says, are deemed by the state not only to be wrong, but criminal. It is not bigotry to identify certain behaviors as wrong when one has clearly thought out and good reasons for doing so. It is, however, presumptuous and outrageous to attempt to change the very essence of the definition of marriage and of the family in the name of what are quite simply perverted and immoral sexual desires. The overturning of marriage by the good people through their black robes branch in Washington in the federal court is making waves in Alabama on the marriage issue. And this is a story in USA Today. The high court on Monday blocked an Alabama court from denying parental rights to a lesbian woman who was granted an adoption in Georgia. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but the second paragraph says the high court's action could restore the woman's visitation rights with the 3 children, now 13 and 11-year-old twins, while the justices decide whether to hear her appeal on the ruling by the Alabama Supreme Court. And this is the high court siding with the ex-partner of the children's mother, and it granted a stay, meaning that the ex-partner retains parental rights even though she is not a parent, while the Supreme Court decides whether or not to take the case. And Obergefell, according to Sanctity of Marriage Alabama, in its note about this on Facebook, opened a Pandora's box very wide, ensuring loads of confusion about family structure and the rule of law. There is consistency and blessing when we honor God's definition of marriage and family, and when we uphold the moral law of God, the foundation of American jurisprudence and the cornerstone upon which our Constitution was drafted. When we stray away from such firm foundations, society crumbles and the rule of law is destroyed. Only in a return to God's standard and the plain language of the Constitution will America have God's blessing, social order, and equal protection and liberty under law. And I would add to that, you got it. Only then will we have a local economy. Local economy is a moral concept, right? That's why I don't cover just business news, right? It's not just about business. It's about the of the creation of capital here. And you may be passing through town. You, my listener, maybe just on the highway, going to a far place in Iowa, let's say. Well, there you've got the here too. The here in your breast is there, and you carry that place, that geography in you when you travel. Well, even there, you've got the same problems we have here, and that is a diminution of capital, a destruction of capital by the overturning of the order of law that is intended to protect the family, intended to protect children. We are adrift. We are mooring. We've lost our mooring, I should say. This is David Tulis.
After areas of morning fog, more good-looking weather for your Wednesday with some sunshine, highs mid and upper 60s. Tonight, more rain will push back in from the south and west pretty quickly, lows into the lower 50s. After a morning shower, drying out for Thursday, highs upper 50s with breeze. Weather returning Friday. Rock City's Enchanted Garden of Lights is now open nightly through the holiday season from 6 to 9 p.m. Joy, wonder, and magic await for the whole family. For more, see rockcity.com. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Rick Davis Polo Store Sale. Gold, silver, bracelets, rings, diamonds. Rick Davis pays you cash personally. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has got the cash and incredible deals at 50, 60, and 70% off Rick Davis on Brainerd Road near Eastgate Town Center.
Do I sound like a guy who loves to eat? Yeah. You too? Guess what? I cook the meanest hamburger in Hickson at my little restaurant, Armando's at Chester Frost Park. That's it. Right by the entrance, Chester Frost Park on Hickson Pike. I'd like you to come by and let me cook you dinner too. Bring your family, kids, friends. Lunch for common folk, just not the common lunch. Yeah, we're perfect for lunch. And dinner too. Meat guy? Yeah. Potatoes? Yeah. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, hot cup of coffee, or ice cold sweet tea. Armando's. That's us. Going by 11 to 9, Monday through Saturday, right outside the entrance, Chester Frost Park, across from Thrasher.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Hot News Talk 1240.
A view like no other awaits you for lunch or dinner at Ari's in Saudi Daisy. Ari's Harbor Light is the restaurant over the glittering waters of Lake Chickamauga there at the marina. It serves you a quiet dinner for two, a solitary glass after a day of toil, a delicious family feast, pleasing even the pickiest 8-year-old niece here for the holidays. Come today. Ari's Harbor Lights restaurant lays a generous smorgasbord of seafood, Greek specialties, Italian pasta. Try Ari's at 11 for lunch. Ari's, 9700 Hickson Pike, Saudi Daisy, 843-2800. Open Tuesday through Sunday. A great place for a holiday party. Happy hour, 3 to 7. Ari's.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Last-minute filers are getting more time to sign up for health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. CBS News White House correspondent Pam Coulter tells us why.
The deadline to sign up for coverage that begins January 1st was extended 2 days because of a rush of people trying to sign up at the last minute. Healthcare.gov was overwhelmed at times, and the wait for call centers reached an hour or more. Federal officials said nearly 1 million people left contact information to hold their place in line. The extra time will give them a chance to research plans and buy coverage.
And the new deadline is 11:59 Pacific time tomorrow night. Live to Capitol Hill now, where CBS's Stephen Portnoy has the latest on the budget bill.
Released overnight, the 2,000-page package of spending and tax breaks lifts the ban on U.S. oil exports. It restores health benefits for 9/11 first responders. It adds new visa requirements for those who've recently traveled to ISIS hotspots. But the bipartisan measure does not include GOP provisions halting Syrian refugee resettlement or defunding Planned Parenthood. House Speaker Paul Ryan is selling his members on the package right now. He aims for a vote on this by the end of the week. Frank?
Jury deliberations have resumed at the trial of William Porter, a Baltimore policeman charged in the death of Freddie Gray from the injuries he suffered in police custody. Yesterday, jury members said they were deadlocked, but the judge told them to keep working. CBS News senior legal analyst Andrew Cohen.
You would think with the options available to jurors that they would have reached a compromise verdict. They could, in other words, send a message they don't like what happened to Freddie Gray without convicting Porter of manslaughter.
A few hours from now, the Federal Reserve is expected to announce the first increase in interest rates in 9 years. Like most other economists, Nariman Baravesh is looking for a quarter-point increase.
This particular hike won't have much of an impact on the kind of interest rates that consumers or households are paying, namely mortgage rates or auto loan rates or credit card rates.
Los Angeles public schools are reopening a day after they were closed because of a false alarm terrorist attack threat. Police Chief Charlie Beck.
We will have significant extra patrols at our schools in order to ease the transition back into normalcy.
Officials were criticized for closing the schools yesterday, but one student believes they made the right call.
I don't think it was an overreaction because I think everyone would have been really scared going back to school, knowing that we had a threat.
3 crew members were on a medical helicopter that crashed on a cliff or mountainside east of Phoenix last night. Sheriff Paul Badiou says 1 survived, but the other 2 were killed.
Throughout their careers, no doubt to us, we already know that they've saved and helped countless people.
A group that opposes capital punishment says only 28 executions have been carried out in the U.S. this year, the lowest number since 1991. It says the death penalty is being imposed less often, and defendants in capital cases are getting better legal help to appeal. In early trading, the Dow Industrials are up 119 points. This is CBS News.
Ugh, my feet are so cold.
I thought I heard someone's teeth chattering over here. Your feet are cold because you're wearing just ordinary socks. You should try what I'm wearing. Heat holders. I got them at Christmas. They're the warmest socks out there.
How do they work? Do I need to put something in them?
No batteries, wires, or anything. Hold on. Here, I have an extra pair. Try these.
Oh, so soft to the touch. The inside is cozy. Wow, yeah, these are warm.
I got some for my husband. He works in construction, and he loves them.
Heat holder socks are the warmest socks around. Independent lab tests prove it. We use a proprietary 3-stage process. Cashmere-like advanced insulating yarn, a long loop thermal pile brushed on the inside. This process helps trap warm air closer to your skin longer. Heat holder socks keep your feet the most warm, comfortable, and dry, guaranteed. Heat holders will pamper your feet. Go to heatholders.com or text the word SNOW to 511-511 to receive a special coupon to save 15% off your order. Receive free shipping with your purchase of $25 or more. Text SNOW to 511-511.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. CBS's Heather Bosch tells us he's been doing his thing in the Cleveland area.
Santa came in the form of an anonymous donor who walked into 2 Walmart stores in Northeast Ohio and paid off shoppers' layaway items, $106,000 in all for toys, TVs, and socks. One woman put $10 down on a bed for her toddler. When she found out the $80 balance was paid, she compared the donor to Santa. The man who insisted on remaining anonymous said he simply liked to do something special on his birthday each year. Heather Bosch, CBS News.
Birmingham, Alabama City Councilman Marcus Lundy is facing an assault charge for his part in a fight with Mayor William Bell during a council meeting. Both men wound up in the hospital. A police report says Lundy charged the mayor and put him in a chokehold before two of Lundy's assistants broke up the fight. A personal issue led to the disagreement, but no one's saying what it was. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
It's happening to you. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
We have enjoyed clear skies for at least a couple days here over Hamilton County and Chattanooga, unmolested by aircraft, uncrisscrossed by jet contrails, as they're called by some, or sky stripes, as I call them, which are policy ejections or injections into the troposphere or the stratosphere, depending on the height of the airplane. And to find out more about this whole program, we are going to talk now with Dr. J. Marvin Herndon. He's a geoscientist. He is a maverick geophysicist, as the Washington Post once called him. And you can find out more about him at his website, nuclearplanet.com. And he has made what I understand to be a major advance in the story of stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, which is, as I've been reporting at Nooganomics.com since March of last year, the program to deal with a threat to our country greater than terrorism, according to the federal president, and that is the weather, and that under the rubric, the kind of fuzzy, abstractified rubric of climate change or global warming. And the program has accelerated in the past year or two. Dr. Herndon says it has accelerated in the past year. I noticed it remarkably changing the nature of sunlight let's say 3 summers ago, and I didn't come to my attention in a grabby way until last year, when after a very sunny day full of as it's called chemtrailing over Chattanooga and a blue sky. The next day, also a warm day, there was a freak snowstorm downtown in Chattanooga that lasted 5 minutes and then went away. And I said, this is, I'm putting things together, and we now have a story that your editor and host, David Tulis, cover as journalist and editor of Nooganomics.com. Dr. Herndon, you're not just, you've been writing about the discovery you've made about the substance that's being deployed in the sky. And we're going to ask you about, you're going to tell my listener what that material is, what it is he's breathing on these artificially cloudy days over Hamilton County. But I want you to say something about who you are. You're kind of an old warhorse scientist. You're 71 years old, and you've been engaging yourself in the study of the Earth for many decades. How is it that you're a maverick?
Well, let me give you a very brief background. After I earned my PhD in nuclear chemistry, I was invited to give a presentation, and there were 2 very senior people in the audience who apparently were impressed about something and invited me to be a postdoctoral apprentice for 3 years and just learn from them and do whatever research I wanted. One was Nobel laureate Harold C. Urey, and the other was Professor Dr. Hans E. Seuss. And I learned from these men. They were very senior. They were some of the greats in the first half of the century. And I learned from them and basically started making discoveries. But I discovered myself very early on that the way with the government funding and the consensus-only mentality that has developed, that you can't really make discoveries and get government funding. So I was sort of excommunicated, but I was on to something important. So I just kept working on my own dime and made one discovery after the other about how the Earth behaves, what causes the galaxies to have the shapes that they have. All that stuff's on my website, nuclearplanet.com. Well, when I started seeing a couple of years ago that this aerial spraying was intense, I began to first to try to find out what it was, and nobody's talking. And so I decided to use a little bit of forensic type science and discovered with high reliability what the stuff is that they're spraying. And what they're spraying is coal fly ash. Now, the utilities, many of them burn coal, and the coal forms ash. The heavy ash settles out, and the very finely powdered ash, it used to go up the smokestack, but it's so toxic that the regulations in all of the Western countries require that that be trapped and disposed of or stored or sequestered. That's called coal fly ash. It's too toxic to go up the smokestack and reach people. But this is the stuff that's been covertly being sprayed over populations, not only in the U.S., but in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, and probably other countries. So this is terrible stuff. And it's the government poisoning citizens. Now, why are they doing this? There are probably a lot of agendas. But let me draw a couple of divisions here. The academics, people, professors at universities, they talk about that we have to do something about this so-called global warming. We need to put powdered stuff in the stratosphere. That's way up high to reflect sunlight, and they call that geoengineering. But they say that's some future thing they might have to do. But the reality is, a form of geoengineering or weather modification has been going on for 15 or more years with ever increasing volumes and quantities of material and frequency of dispersal. And that's covert. It's very secretly done. It's not being put in the stratosphere. It's being put in the troposphere. This is the area where clouds form, where weather happens. And this is the part of the atmosphere that mixes with the air we breathe. And that's the difference between what is being talked about and what is actually being done.
So are you saying, Dr. Herndon, that spraying at 3 miles is more dangerous to my listener than spraying at 8 miles where the stratosphere is up high?
Yeah, the stratosphere is even higher than 8 miles. I mean, it goes way, way up. And planes that only really special planes can get high into the stratosphere. Like, you remember the, what was it called? The Black Hawk, or the spy planes, SR-70 or SR-77.
Yes.
The spy planes that used to fly high over the Soviet Union. It takes quite a special plane to have sustained flight in the stratosphere. Now, we're not talking about just the edge of the stratosphere, the lower edge. We're talking about high up in it. And people have thought, the academics have thought of putting titanium dioxide, which is a white powder, or sulfuric acid, high up in the stratosphere, putting it up with those special planes that are built to fly at high altitudes, or shooting it from some kind of a cannon, or putting it in balloons that can go that high.
You mentioned these, Dr. Herndon, you mentioned these various theories. They seem extraordinarily cockeyed, like firing 16-inch cannon into space and having the shell explode with talcum, kind of a talcum powder. They seem ludicrously expensive and kind of cockeyed.
This whole thing is cockeyed.
Well,
beyond belief, because and here's the worst part of it. You remember when the the UN's IPCC, Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, started promoting all of this global warming. And Al Gore came out with his movie, An Inconvenient Truth. And there was all this political push about global warming. Kids were being taught that this is what's happening. Well, and then you remember the ClimateGate scandal, when some of the emails were hacked that from an organization, the East Anglia University, that was cooperating with the IPCC, and it showed that a lot of the people were trying to deceive the public. They were fudging data. They were promoting something that wasn't based solely on truth. Well, it's even worse than that. Each year the IPCC evaluates these models that all seem to show that, hey, we got global warming going on. Well, of course, models show whatever you want them to show. But all of those models are flawed for a couple of good reasons. One, not a single one of them includes what has been happening covertly, the spraying that you see in the sky. And without that being included in the model is just totally invalid. So all of the conclusions that have been drawn by the IPCC are invalid. Okay, and our government is about to buy into all of that. So that's I mean, that's cockeyed beyond all imagination.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Herndon. We're talking with J. Marvin Herndon in San Diego. He's a scientist. He runs TransDigm Corporation as a lifetime researcher in the nature of the Earth, the Earth's core. He just has one of his papers is about a reactor at it's kind of a small nuclear reactor at the very center of the Earth that affects its magnetic fields and very, very deep science. Is it your understanding that this spraying program affects the weather, or does it just simply does it harmlessly deflect sunlight and reduce temperatures, or is there something in the way of feedback loops or unintended consequences that the listener needs to hear about, Dr. Herndon?
Well, the academics all talk about it reflecting sunlight, and this is hypothetical, though. All right, because the academics talk about the stratosphere and they talk about in the future. What is happening is the spraying in the lower atmosphere, in the troposphere. And I can tell you a few things. It might reflect a little bit of sunlight, but it also absorbs heat from the sun and warms the atmosphere. It also prevents some of the heat. You know, normally the sun shines on the Earth in the daytime, and at nighttime the Earth cools, it radiates the heat away. Well, those artificial clouds hold some of that heat in. That material that's being sprayed not only warms the atmosphere, holds the heat in, but it retards the fall of rain. All of these things contribute to causing global warming, not reversing it, not doing the opposite, not cooling the Earth. So you have to think, well, here is and how is it being sold to people? What are our leaders being told to justify this? My guess is that they're being told that the government has to do something about the global warming, and people can't be trusted. So the government's going ahead and doing it.
Well, you mentioned justification, Dr. Herndon, but there seems to be some justification being built into the National Academy of Sciences book that came out that I looked at very carefully in, I think, February, that proposes a mass chemtrailing program to dim the sun and cool the planet. That's the title is dimming the sun and cooling the planet.
Well, but this is this hypothetical thing about what's happening in the upper atmosphere, or what is proposed for the upper atmosphere. So you see there's like two things going on. the academics, and I can't believe that people who are members of the National Academy of Sciences are not aware of what's going on in the covert spraying that's been going on for 15 years or more. But they don't talk about that. They talk about global warming and how we have to cool the planet. Well, there's a lot of money to be gained from research, from projects, from all sorts of things. It's a cash cow for many, many people, and that's one of the motives is to enrich people.
But it's not a cash cow for the solar industry, Dr. Herndon. The solar industry would be damaged when the power of the sun is diminished and its energy deflected by these cloud systems, which we often have here in Hamilton County.
Right, but that's not the kind of money we're talking about. We're talking about money for research operations. We're talking about money for massive spraying programs. We're talking about money that for carbon credits that'll probably be put in place. We're talking about a shift of income from countries that have a high standard of living because they work hard to produce things, to poor countries. I mean, there are political motives involved. And there's also some people think that this is all part of a scheme to essentially install a one world government run by the UN.
What is the danger to my listeners' health, Dr. Herndon, of coal fly ash? What if coal fly ash is deposited, as it is frequently over San Diego, the formerly blue skies of San Diego, and the beautiful skies we have here in Chattanooga, when there are no jets of this kind? What is the danger to my listeners' health? What is in coal fly ash that's injurious?
A lot of things. First, let me say that very fine particles less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, particles like you get in pollution in cities, for example. Studies have shown that those particles, I guess more or less irrespective of origin, is dangerous to people's health. They've been shown to be associated with hospital admissions, with death and premature death, with low birth rate, with lung inflammation and diabetes, and risk for cardiovascular disease, and risk for male infertility. Now, this is just the fine particles. Coal fly ash is that, plus water extracts a whole bunch of toxic chemicals from coal fly ash. Arsenic, for example, which can cross the placenta in a pregnant woman to her baby. Coal fly ash exposed to water releases aluminum in a chemically mobile form. Now,
what does that mean?
Aluminum's an abundant element in the surface of the earth, but it's always locked up tight. When there was worries about acid rain back in the 70s, the big worries were because acid rain could cause aluminum to be released from certain geologic materials like mine tailings, and that could cause die-offs of forests and just terrible things to the environment. But the acid rain problem was pretty much solved by trapping the gases that cause it. But coal fly ash releases aluminum in a chemically mobile form. So the same things that were concerned about the acid rain that released aluminum can be said about the coal fly ash. It can cause forest die-offs, and we're seeing this in California. We're seeing major impacts. But the worst thing is that aluminum has been implicated in neurological diseases, Alzheimer's, autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit disorder, Parkinson's. I mean, the aluminum is, people never developed any kind of resistance or protections for aluminum in a chemically mobile form, because in nature it's not mobile. It's locked up tight. And so this is perhaps the most dangerous. But there are other things in coal fly ash that are released. There's chromium, there's mercury, probably 30 or 40 elements, including radioactive elements such as uranium and thorium.
Now, these elements are all in coal fly ash, Dr. Herndon, that are trapped by scrubber systems at TVA coal plants here in the Chattanooga area. They're not allowed to go up the smokestack, and huge investments have been made by this federal utility here to trap it. But you're saying that this material, which is famous for its recycling powers, right? Coal fly ash is famous for recycling uses, and maybe we can mention after my important commercial messages what some of those are. That is you're saying intentionally dispersed by jet aircraft as part of this program to alter the weather and control rainfall and heat.
Tens, if not hundreds of millions of tons of it.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Dr. Marvin Herndon of TransDigm Corporation. He's a longtime researcher who has he's a geophysicist. He's called a maverick geophysicist by the Washington Post, and studies the Earth, studies how mountains are formed, how ridges are formed, where the fjords in Norway came from, what is at the very center of the Earth, how is that studied. He's been at it for decades, and we're finding out more about sky striping here in Hamilton County and where you, my listener, live. Hang on.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After areas of morning fog, more good-looking weather for your Wednesday with some sunshine, highs mid and upper 60s. Tonight, more rain will push back in from the south and west pretty quickly, lows into the lower 50s. After a morning shower, drying out for Thursday, highs upper 50s with breezy and colder weather returning Friday. Rock City's Enchanted Garden of Lights is now open nightly through the holiday season from 6 to 9 p.m. Joy, wonder, and magical wait for the whole family. For more, see rockcity.com. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
CBS Radio News brought to you by Kubota. You can count on Kubota to help you get the toughest jobs done with ease, comfort, and efficiency. Whether you need a compact tractor, zero-turn mower, or diesel utility vehicle, let Kubota help you get your work done. Find your local Kubota dealer at TennesseeKubotaDealers.com.
At Kubota, there's only one thing we're selling. Great tractors.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life.
Happy holidays
at the Wood.
from the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party. Then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Talk of terrorism and national security dominating the GOP presidential debate last night, with Donald Trump slamming Jeb Bush.
He's saying the same thing right now with radical Islam, and we can't have that in our country. It just won't work. We need strength.
Governor Bush. Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
On CNN and the Salem Radio Network, there was a scare for Southwest Airlines passengers and crew members in Nashville.
Flight 31 landed okay, but passengers say something went wrong as they were taxiing back to the gate.
All of a sudden, we heard a shudder, and we heard basically we swerved off into a ditch.
8 people aboard the incoming flight from Houston were treated for minor injuries.
Fox Radio's Tom Graham, and a Baltimore jury deliberating again a day after announcing a deadlock in the case of the first officer to stand trial over the death of Freddie Gray.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
It's hard to call J. Marvin Herndon a crank. He's an old warhorse scientist. He's a geophysicist. He's been called a maverick geophysicist by the Washington Post. He's the author of many, many academic papers that touch on how fjords are made, how mountains are made, what is at the core of the Earth, what do the radiate magnetic fields say about what's down in there. He's the author of a book, Herndon's Earth and the Dark Side of Science. You can get that at Amazon. He's made many very deep and complex discoveries that he's argued for in papers. And also, you can read, if you want to get lost in the deep science, you can go to his website, nuclearplanet.com. He's come to my attention because he's broken the story about so-called chemtrailing. And I don't like that word chemtrailing because it sounds like it's taking part in what the CIA classifies as conspiracy theory. That's a word that kind of a smear word used started back in the 1960s, I think, to discredit anybody who has a non-establishment narrative about what they're seeing or what the government may be doing as against public health and as against the interests of the innocent public. And Dr. Herndon, who runs TransDigm Corporation and has made this discovery, is on the phone with us from San Diego. Dr. Herndon, you complained to the chief of police and the mayor of San Diego about the loss of blue skies over San Diego. What is it you told these officials, and what was the response?
Well, I told them basically. See, the one thing that I need to mention is I am, I believe, the first scientist to publish a paper in the peer-reviewed scientific literature presenting evidence of what is being sprayed covertly, and that's being coal fly ash. And so I wrote the mayor of San Diego and the city council and the chief of police, basically describing the nature of the substance being sprayed, the effects on people, and saying that they should be warning people who are particularly vulnerable. We're talking about pregnant women, children, the elderly, people with compromised immune and respiratory systems, warned them to stay indoors when the spraying's going on and maybe get filters for their homes. And I received nothing from the mayor. And I wrote, actually, I think a couple of letters. I did hear at one point from a lieutenant in the internal affairs department of the police department, who I think was number one trying to check me out to see if I was some kind of a nut or something, and number two trying to deflect me to complain somewhere else. But after a lengthy conversation, I didn't time it. It may have been an hour. Neither of those, the deflection didn't work at all, because I made it very clear that it is the responsibility of the chief of police to protect the citizens of San Diego and to warn those who are in danger. You know, we have laws on our books of felony child endangerment, for example, that this would come under.
And your idea is to appeal to local officials who have no authority over the federal government, but who do have, you're suggesting they have a kind of fiduciary duty to make a claim against some unknown party to stop what you say in your papers, Dr. Herndon, an activity for which there's no public disclosure, no informed consent, and no public health warnings. That's a statement I've read in at least two of your papers that touch on this topic. Why are those things important?
One of the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
One of the arguments that this police lieutenant said, well, of course, the police department doesn't have the manpower, the money, the equipment. It's just, this doesn't have the capability of the resources to do anything. And I said, look, the only resource that is necessary is number one, to call a major press conference and make this a public matter and to warn people. And two, to file a lawsuit, probably with the Supreme Court or headed to the Supreme Court, to get a cease and desist order over whomever is spraying this material until the safety of it can be ascertained beyond doubt. He didn't have an answer for that.
Well, I'm a former newspaper editor, Dr. Herndon, and own a radio station, and I'm a journalist. I have, of course, much to say in the way of editorial opinion, but still, I'm a journalist, and I've desisted making that an effort like yours. Because I'm just afraid of the time it takes, the effort it takes to get anybody to even say anything who's a public official. And it seems kind of despairing and kind of not very hopeful person to take that position. But you've done that.
Let me tell you about our mayor. Our mayor is fairly new at the job. The previous mayor, who was elected to a lot of different positions. I think he was in Congress for a term, or at least one term. But everybody knew what was going on. But finally, when he became a mayor of San Diego, some women complained and got an attorney. And he ended up having to resign because of doing untoward things toward women. So the mayor of San Diego is fairly new at the job, and he's been described as, he and his wife have been described as looking like they came from central casting. I mean, it looks like perfect mayor with a very attractive wife. But I tend to, and it's been rumored that he would very much like to be the governor of California. But you know, I think he's missing the boat. Instead of being cowardly and not taking a stand, if he stood up, called a national press conference, made a major issue of what's going on, and stood on his hind legs and acted like a man and demanded explanations and cessation and so forth, this would put him right to the national headlines quickly, and he'd probably end up being the governor of California.
You're making a great suggestion, Dr. Herndon, and I've thought of that as well. What you're offering is a kind of fuel for a kind of a free market, anti-government, pro-family, pro-environment position. So if say a Senate candidate or a House of Representative candidate, or even one for governor, says, I'm convinced by Dr. Herndon's papers that this is coal fly ash, which may have actually come from coal fly pits here in Tennessee, now being sprayed illegally and secretly by the government. Think of the arguments. Think of the constituencies to whom that appeals. The environmentalist is on board, right? You're liberal because he's thinking about big, the utilities are the bad guys and they're killing us. And here they're doing it even more by selling this coal ash to the government in secret, and the government's pouring it on us. So they're implicating industry and utilities, and it could be an attack on coal, right? Then you've
there's no end of things, and the important thing is that put it this way, if the world were normal, if our country were normal, say like it was more or less in the 50s or 60s, and say some foreign government started flying over our cities, pouring out this material, their planes would be shot down quickly. I mean, there would be nothing to stop it. I mean, that would not be tolerated. But we've gotten to a position where so much of government is without adherence to laws. I mean, government should be based upon law, and there's a government lawlessness in place, and certainly spraying toxic materials on a daily basis over where people breathe. There's a Fritz Haber, a very famous German chemist, also did some rather infamous things. He developed the poison gas for World War I. Well, he came up with a rule. It's called Haber's Rule. And basically it says this: a low dose for a long time is equivalent to a high dose for a short time. And I think that applies essentially to the coal fly ash. You get a low dose continuously, and it has the net effect of being like getting a major dose in a short time.
Well, you're describing coal fly ash, which is what you, Dr. Marvin Herndon, proposed is the material sprayed by jets on certain days here over Hamilton County. I keep a record of those days. And these are, I call them visitations, because they are heavenly, they are glorious, they are fantastic, they are remarkable. And we've had them here in Chattanooga on the 2nd of December, the 5th of December, the 6th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th. And here we are Wednesday. Nothing has happened in the skies since then. We have very dry skies because there's no moisture to cause these so-called contrails. But you're saying...
Whoa. Let me make a correction about this contrails business.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is the ploy that this started in, there was a paper published, I think it was in 2007, I'd have to check that, by the U.S. Air Force, where they say there is no such thing as chemtrails. Okay? They say they are contrails. Contrails are like ice crystals that form from the moisture in aircraft exhaust. And there are no adverse health effects. Okay? This is patent lying, because number one, most of the jets today produce very little moisture in their exhaust. To form contrails, which are ice crystals, it has to be very cold where it is and very humid. And this is a fairly rare circumstance. It doesn't happen every day and have the crisscrossing. That's nonsense. But this is the story that's being promoted. This is the lie that is being told. These are contrails. So contrail is a really bad word. I would rather use the word chemtrail to distinguish it,
Right.
even though I know something about the origin of that word.
Well, we're being disarmed by the official narrative, Dr. Herndon. Here in Hamilton County, we're disarmed because the Bob Colby, the director of the Chattanooga Hamilton County Air Pollution Control Board, says, citing an EPA fact sheet that's been unchanged virtually since for 15 years, these are contrails, these are water vapor evidences. But your discovery in advancing the story of federal geoengineering as against us is that the material is coal fly ash. Well, tell my listener briefly about the controversy, the sort of the academic ethical controversy flying around one of your academic papers, the main paper that I was just flabbergasted to read.
Let me tell you.
What happened there?
Okay. The first paper that I published providing evidence identifying coal fly ash and the problem of aluminum toxicity poisoning humanity. I published in Current Science, which is published in association with the Indian Academy of Sciences. It was peer-reviewed. It was published. Well, almost immediately, the editor received a barrage of negative comments. And, none of them were true. But one of them said that that I was just promoting chemtrail conspiracy theory. There's no evidence for it. If this is the whole CIA type of response, and they tried to get the editor to retract the paper.
And he did.
No, he did not. What he did, he asked me to respond in writing, and he was going to publish the letter from the disinformationist and requested permission to use their name. And immediately the guy said, no. Either he said it or his boss or his boss's boss. So that paper remained. Shortly after that, I published a much longer paper with more data and a public health journal. And this was peer reviewed. In fact, one of the reviewers was excellent and helped to make the paper even better. And this was published, and then the disinformationists attacked. They went after people in the journal. They even paid a visit to the editor, a face-to-face visit. And the editor retracted the paper and placed a list of reasons which were the lies that these disinformationists presented. Now, if you go to my website, nuclearplanet.com, the first section is more or less biographical stuff. Then the next section is about the toxic geoengineering. And the very first link that you come to tells the story about this retraction and has some additional links in it. I mean, this is unconscionable. And I'm still battling with people with that university system, because to me, it's as much a crime to prevent people from knowing the health consequences as it is spraying the particles, ordering the particles to be sprayed. I mean, this is terrible. It's deceiving the public and the scientific community on a grand scale.
If you want to read this paper, you can find a copy of it at Nooganomics.com. That's the website of me, your host, David Tulis. And the website, again, is Nooganomics.com. And if you're not sure what to look for, it's under the sky striping category, or you can do a find on Dr. Herndon's name, Herndon. I published parts of that, I republished parts of that, and also his India paper, which is quite much shorter. And to give you, my listener, and my reader at that website for The Man Who Matters, a glimpse into this remarkable controversy over something happening here over Chattanooga. So just briefly, Dr. Herndon, are you pursuing kind of an ethics complaint against this journal?
Well, I pursued a complaint to the president of the journal. No. I'm pursuing two ways. I've been pursuing an ethics complaint to the journal. The journal ignores it. I've been pursuing a complaint against the professor, first to the president of Jackson State University, who, along with a committee, decided that, well, it's just between me and the journal. But I will tell you, any university who has on their staff a faculty member, a professor and dean, who is deliberately retracting a public health paper based upon lies, thwarting the whole principle of scientific ethics, and deceiving the community. I mean, this is something, in my view, that has no place at a publicly funded university. And right now, my complaint is being elevated to the commissioner of Mississippi State Higher Education. And it will continue to go higher, because what that commissioner ought to do is ought to go to the district attorney for Mississippi and ask the matter to be investigated. What did that person offer or say or do or threaten to cause a professor to flip, to reverse himself in a manner that deceives the public?
Let me change the subject right quick, Dr. Herndon. Let me just change the subject. All right, coal fly ash is being poured into the sky. According to your analysis, you say in your paper you're 99% sure of the results of this research, which studies actual material and also other studies. Why is coal ash this is a recycling program gone big. This is a recycling program that's gone into the air. Coal ash is very versatile, and here it's being put to a kind of a massive governmental recycling use. In what other fields is coal ash a benefit? Because some people are viewing coal ash as a benefit.
Let me first step back and say, by the virtue of the amount of spraying that's involved, we're talking about tens of millions of tons a year of very fine particles that are maybe 1 micrometer or smaller in diameter. Now, if you tried to manufacture those particles from rock, imagine the vast mining operations, crushing rock and crushing it to powdering it. I mean, we're talking about vast physical circumstances, and yet for the utilities have all of this infrastructure in place, because the coal fly ash starts out in that small size range and it's trapped. So it's just a question of maybe doing a small amount of maybe separating an even finer part out and shipping it where it needs to go. And so I mean, the infrastructure is all there.
Well, let me ask about
advantage. But now let me talk about the other uses.
Go ahead.
Always trying to find uses for coal fly ash, and one of them is adding it to cement. I'm not sure how wise that is. Another is using it as a soil amendment. Now, there was an article, I think it was published in Mother Jones, about an instance in California when some vegetable crops, I'm not sure whether it was spinach or something, routinely were tested and found to have toxic levels of thallium in them. And somebody went back to check why that was, and the reason is because they were fertilizing the organic this is organic vegetables, right? They were fertilizing the soil with coal fly ash, which is a toxic nightmare. I mean, it's got thallium, and thallium used to be used in rat poisoning. I mean, it's bad stuff.
Dr. Herndon, we're out of our time. I wanted to thank you very much for giving my listener and me your time. Thank you so much, Dr. J. Marvin Herndon.
It's my pleasure.
Dr. Herndon is the man who's exposed what's happening in the skies over Chattanooga and Helmand County. It's coal fly ash recycling program gone wild. This is David Tulis.
After areas of morning fog, more good-looking weather for your Wednesday with some sunshine, highs mid and upper 60s. Tonight, more rain will push back in from the south and west pretty quickly, lows into the lower 50s. After a morning shower, drying out for Thursday, highs upper 50s with breezy and colder weather returning Friday. Rock City's Enchanted Garden of Lights is now open nightly through the holiday season from 6 to 9 p.m. Joy, wonder, and magical wait for the whole family. For more, see rockcity.com. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Rick Davis total store sale. Gold, silver, bracelets, rings, diamonds. Rick Davis pays you cash personally. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has got the cash and incredible deals at 50, 60, and 70% off Rick Davis on Brainerd Road near Eastgate Town Center.
Do I sound like a guy who loves to eat? Yeah. You too? Guess what? I cook the meanest hamburger in Hickson at my little restaurant, Armando's at Chester Frost Park. That's it. Right by the entrance to Chester Frost Park on Hickson Pike. I'd like you to come by and let me cook you dinner too. Bring your family, kids, friends. Lunch for common folk, just not the common lunch. Yeah, we're perfect for lunch. And dinner too. Meat guy? Yeah. Potatoes? Yeah. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, hot cup of coffee, or ice cold sweet tea. Armando's. That's us. Go on by 11 to 9, Monday through Saturday, right outside the entrance to Chester Frost Park, across from Thrasher.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Hot News Talk 1240.
A view like no other awaits you for lunch or dinner at Ari's in Saudi Daisy. Ari's Harbor Light is the restaurant over the glittering waters of Lake Chickamauga, there at the marina. It serves you a quiet dinner for two, a solitary glass after a day of toil, a delicious family feast, pleasing even the pickiest 8-year-old niece here for the holidays. Come today. Ari's Harbor Lights restaurant lays a generous smorgasbord of seafood, Greek specialties, Italian pasta. Try Ari's at 11 for lunch. Ari's, 9700 Hickson Pike, Saudi Daisy, 843-2800. Open Tuesday through Sunday. A great place for a holiday party. Happy hour, 3 to 7. Ari's.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.